I'm back in my shed studio and I'm delighted to be joined by YouTuber and music technician Liam Taylor. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Richard. Thanks so much for having me.
You're a YouTuber. Is that a thing? Can people be just, a full-time YouTuber, or is it on the side?
That pretty much depends on your age. I think if you're over 35 and you call someone a YouTuber, then that's not a job. Get a real job. Get in a factory or whatever. No, it's fine. YouTubing is a thing. You're allowed to do it. It's creative. It shares ideas with the world. It's great. But it's not a full-time job for me just yet. So I do weekly videos on YouTube about playing guitar, music industry, music lifestyle, anything pretty much pertaining to music. Sometimes I get a bit ranty, but I get more views for that, so whatever.
I can't relate to that, Liam. I have no strong opinions one way or the other on anything.
Hooray!
You're a YouTuber on Liam Taylor Guitar, and you do some great breakdowns and some funny videos about music. You also blog at SPLetsPlay.com.
That's it.
But you are actually active on the local Cambridgeshire music scene as well.
I try to be. I'm not currently as active as I was, say, 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I was running events at Portland Arms, Man on the Moon, all sorts of venues. But then managing events is really hard. And I don't know if that's exclusive to Cambridge or if that's just a general thing. But managing events in Cambridge is especially hard. So I had to pack that in and get something resembling a real job.
Savage.
Yeah, I know, right? So I've tried to sort of stay connected to the Cambridge music scene. And that's really what the Panda music blog is about. So I will interview local artists, sometimes emerging national artists, not always with the angle of, hey, tell me about your new album, but often with the angle of what can you tell the next generation of musicians or creators? What did you wish that you knew going into it? So it's, I try to kind of take the educational angle on it.
That's really interesting because obviously, like I've been a roadie in that my wife is a professional musician and I've had to carry her gear around quite a lot. But she has had what you might describe as a good artisan career. So she wasn't a pop star, but she's been a recording artist and she's, done the beat of going to venues, being the hired musician. And now we're looking at my daughter coming up and we're going, would we actually recommend that life for her?
Well, it's interesting actually for younger people. I think it seems easier for younger musicians. There's all kinds of outlets like The Junction is very good at putting on youth music nights. My day job is working in a music department at a very good secondary academy. So that there are millions of opportunities for youth. So I think once you hit your mid to late teens and you get into your 20s and you stop being adorable, you're kind of dumped on your own 2 feet and you've got to fend for yourself. And it's just not the same music scene that you will have been used to in your early teens. It's a shame, but I think most bands, once they hit 20s, will disappear off to London or Norwich, to be honest.
Really? People pick Norwich over Cambridge? Controversial.
If you go to Norwich, if you go to gigs in Norwich, it is the least controversial thing in the world. There's a lot going on. So yeah, a lot of Cambridge bands will just disappear an hour and a half up the road to Norfolk, I'm afraid.
Oh no. Well, what can we do? Or what would you put in place if you were in charge of Cambridge music?
Firstly, if that was a job that was going, I would take it.
King of Cambridge music.
Managing Cambridge music, the whole thing, I will do that in an instant.
Wait a minute. We're the local BBC radio station. Surely we have some power. I'll check in with Ian and just see how much leverage we have.
Send them my LinkedIn. All my credentials are there. We can do this. I think the problem with Cambridge is venues and accessibility of these venues. And it was different maybe, again, I don't want to go into this whole it was better back when, but if you think about 10 years ago,
in Alden,
you had the Man on the Moon, which is where bands could go and do their first gigs. And let's be honest, they would go terribly, but that's the point of your first gigs. You're supposed to fluff it up, forget your lines, whatever. It's fine. The Man on the Moon was the venue that you went to do that. And then you also had venues like the Corner House. There were a couple other pub venues like that. And then you had the Portland Arms, which a few iterations of the venue ago was a bit smaller. So you had these nice little stepping stones for indie bands, but then once you've done the Portland Arms, there's nowhere to go. So you've got to go to London. You've got to go to Norfolk. You've got to go anywhere else to get out of this. I've heard it called a Cambridge bubble before, which I quite like.
Liam Taylor, let's have people look up SPLetsPlay.com while we listen to some music. Are you okay to hang around for a moment?
Absolutely.
Welcome back to BBC Radio Cambridgeshire /Shed. we are back in my shed studio. Liam Taylor of Liam Taylor Guitar on YouTube and StabbedPanda.com has squeezed into the shed. Thanks for hanging around. I know it gets a bit claustrophobic in here.
I'm quite used to sheds and small spaces. I think that's living in Cambridge will prep you for that quite nicely, I found.
I thought that you were going to say that is a testament to your music career, that you've only ever played in like small shed-style places.
No, I've not made it up to the small shed style venue just yet. One day, maybe we can dream.
But you have been like a functioning member of a band, as in going out and doing entertainment.
Not quite as much as I would like, to be honest. I've kind of always found myself going into the more, I don't want to say management side of thing. I did manage a few tiny bands again, like 10 years ago. But I always find myself ending up on the backstage side of things rather than being a performer, which isn't quite where I saw my music career going, to be honest.
Have you got the typical music thing that I see from my wife and her friends, is that they are either whinging like heck that they haven't got any gigs, or if they're actually asked to do any work, they're whinging that they've got too much on and they're busy?
I like being busy, to be honest. I don't mind having to stay up till silly o'clock in the morning because the next video needs to be edited or the next article needs to be written. I quite like that. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. I'm taking part. I've not got to that complaining stage yet. Give it a couple of years, then maybe.
See, what a lot of the kids these days don't fathom. Kids. Oh, those kids, not like they used to. And tell you what else, nostalgia's not what it used to be. But a lot of these kids, when they think about the glory of doing the stage show, there's a lot around getting from your bedroom or your garage practicing to being the band on stage, getting the adoration of the crowd.
I see what you mean.
There's loads of jobs around that.
Many years ago, you would have something called a manager. Now, a manager would do all of the non-musical things. So if you had a manager in 2018, that would be the person running your Instagram account or doing all the vlogs and all the YouTube stuff. Managers don't really exist anymore. You've kind of got to combine that job with the job of,
why don't they exist anymore? Is it just because there's not the money to fund having a full-time manager?
This is speculation, but I wonder if some of it is that people aren't living this crazy rock and roll lifestyle anymore. And I'm not going to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think we've lost this pretension, and I'm glad we've lost this pretension about creative people can only create and they need to be locked in a room with padded walls to make music. And if you let them out, they're either going to create the next best single or they're going to completely wreck up the place.
My daughter is getting into making YouTube videos and she loves that creative element of it. But much like, the little boy in his go-kart where the dad's sitting there oily covered in spanners and he's, he's just gets to do the racing. At the moment, she's not seeing the bit where you have to cut up the video and then put it on social media or get it uploaded to YouTube. These artists now, if they want to manage this themselves, they need to be essentially computer nerds and what do you call it? SEO experts, search engine optimization experts.
Optimization. Yeah. SEO, the scariest acronym in music at the moment. The cool thing is there's so many different jobs that traditionally a manager would do or a record label or a promoter that you could quite easily divide them up against the band members. And this is something I've talked about on Stab Panda and on my own YouTube channel. You take these jobs that are not I'll say for the moment, the less creative jobs, and you divvy them up amongst the band members.
Do you give most of the jobs to the bass player because it's so impossibly easy to play bass that they can just do all of that while they're playing?
Oh man, I'm not even going to comment on the ability of bass players. I know my audience too well. I mean, actually, you kind of make an interesting point. If you're in a situation where you have a songwriter in the band, so someone rocks up with a set of lyrics, set of chords, and a rough idea of what they want rhythm-wise, then you could argue that that person is the songwriter and that is their band job. So then maybe you let them write all the music, as long as you turn up to play your bass or your keyboards or whatever. But then because you're not doing the songwriting, maybe you have to be in charge of the website or the Twitter or the Facebook or whatever. So you make an interesting point, but you went around it in a way that undermines bass players, which I respect that. And
also, it must be easy to divvy up jobs within a band because famously bands all get on so well amongst each other.
Oh, yeah, so well. But I think part of that is, again, this facade of being, I don't know, highly emotional or erratic in your behavior. So actually, if you get rid of that facade, I think firstly, you're going to get on a lot better if you just stop pretending that one of you is the hyper creative and the rest of you are just drones.
Well, I know nothing about divas living with a vocalist at home, so I'm going to make no comment in case she's tuned in.
Safe, very safe.
Yeah. I would love to speak to you again pretty soon. I wanted to talk to you actually, although we've run out of time, about getting into a musical instrument. I went in to see my kids do a trial and they were all playing trombones and violins and having a go on all sorts. I mean, it sounds terrible and it's enough to put you off, but maybe you could come in studio and teach me to play a simple instrument or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
Liam Taylor, search Liam Taylor on YouTube to catch some of his informative and frankly entertaining YouTube videos, and also catch his writing at stabbedpanda.com. Liam, thanks for shuffling into my shed. The entrance is there.
I'll make my way out. Thanks so much for having me.